A narcissist doesn't care about you. They never did. But there's one type of person they can't forget, can't let go, can't move past. It's not because you were weak. It's because you became the unsolved puzzle. And according to Carl Jung, that's the one thing a narcissist can't survive. Most people think narcissists discard everyone the same way. They do, until they meet someone who breaks the pattern, someone who sees through the mask but doesn't react to it, someone who doesn't play the game. And when that happens, something inside the narcissist snaps. They become obsessed, not with love, not with winning you back, but with solving the mystery of why their usual tricks don't work anymore. Jung called it the persona. It's the mask we all wear to survive in the world. But the narcissist doesn't just wear a mask. They are the mask. There's nothing underneath except a desperate need for validation. And they've spent their entire life perfecting this performance. They know exactly what to say, how to act, what buttons to push. They've turned human connection into a science. And for years, it works. People fall for it. People give them what they need, until they meet you. You're different. Not because you're smarter or stronger, but because you've done something most people never do. You've looked into your own darkness. Jung called this shadow work. You've seen your own flaws, your own fears, your own capacity for cruelty. And when you've truly faced your shadow, something incredible happens. You become immune to projection. The narcissist tries to make you feel guilty. Nothing. They try to make you feel special. Nothing. They try to make you feel worthless. Nothing. Because you already know who you are. The good and the bad. And their games bounce off you like light off a mirror. This is when the obsession begins. The narcissist has spent their whole life getting reflections from other people. They need you to reflect back the image they're projecting. They need you to believe the character they're playing. But when you stop reflecting, when you stop participating in their theater, they experience something they've been running from their entire life. Emptiness. The void underneath the mask. And it terrifies them. Jung understood that the narcissist isn't really in love with other people. They're in love with their own reflection in other people's eyes. They move from person to person, collecting mirrors. And as long as each mirror shows them what they want to see, everything is fine. But you're not a mirror anymore, you're a void. And when they look at you, they see nothing coming back. No admiration, no fear, no anger, just indifference. And indifference is the one thing their ego can't process. The narcissist experiences what Jung would call a narcissistic injury. But it's not just wounded pride, it's an existential crisis. Their entire identity is built on the idea that they can manipulate anyone, that their mask is perfect, that their performance is flawless. You're living proof that it's not. You saw through them and didn't care. You didn't expose them. You didn't fight them. You just walked away. And that's worse than any confrontation because it means they weren't even worth the energy. Now they can't stop thinking about you. But understand what's really happening here. They're not thinking about you as a person. They're thinking about the failure you represent. Every time they remember you, they remember the moment their mask didn't work, the moment they lost control, the moment they felt powerless. And narcissists will do anything to avoid feeling powerless. So they rewrite the story. They tell themselves you were the love of their life. They tell themselves you're the one who got away. They tell themselves if they could just get one more chance, they could fix it. But here's the truth Jung would tell you. The narcissist isn't obsessed with winning you back. They're obsessed with erasing the evidence of their failure. If they can get you to react, to engage, to care, then they can prove to themselves that the mask still works, that they still have power. That moment of failure was just a glitch, not a revelation. They need to turn you back into a mirror, because if you stay a void, if you stay indifferent, then they have to face the possibility that everything they believe about themselves is a lie. This is why they can't let go. Other people gave them supply and moved on. Other people broke down and gave them the reaction they wanted. Other people played the game until the end. But you didn't. You stopped playing before they were done. And that means the game is unfinished. Their ego can't handle unfinished. It can't handle unsolved. It can't handle the idea that someone existed in their world and left without giving them what they needed. Jung talked about individuation. It's the process of becoming your true self. Not the self your parents wanted, not the self society expects. Your actual self. The person underneath all the conditioning and trauma and fear. And when you've done that work, when you've individuated, you become dangerous to people who haven't. Because you remind them of everything they're avoiding. The narcissist looks at you and sees everything they could have been if they'd had the courage to face their own emptiness. That's the real reason for the obsession. You're not just the person who got away. You're the person who represents the road not taken. The narcissist chose the mask over authenticity. They chose control over vulnerability. They chose the game over connection. And somewhere deep in their unconscious, they know it. They know they traded their soul for an image. And you're walking proof that there was another option. You faced your darkness and survived. They ran from theirs and became it. This is why they'll try to come back. They're alchemists in progress. The alchemist's path gives you drills, Jung-based boundaries, and 3 exclusive chapter videos to turn overwhelm into clarity. By Surreal Mind, 236-page downloadable ebook in stock. Begin now at thesurrealmind.com. Sometimes months later, sometimes years later, they'll show up with apologies or explanations or declarations of love. But it's never real. It's one last attempt to get you to react, to prove that they still matter, to turn you back into a mirror. And if you give them that reaction, if you engage even for a moment, the obsession will end. Not because they got closure, but because they got what they needed. Proof that the mask still works. Proof that they still have power. Proof that you're still playing the game. But if you stay indifferent, if you maintain the void, something fascinating happens. The obsession intensifies. They start making mistakes. They start showing the real person underneath the mask. Not because they want to, but because their psychological defenses are failing. The part of them that's still human, the part Jung would call the self, is trying to break through. It's trying to force them to face what they've been avoiding. And you're the catalyst. Here's where it gets dark. The narcissist will often try to destroy what they can't control. If they can't make you love them, they'll try to make you hate them. If they can't get admiration, they'll settle for anger. Anything except indifference. Because indifference means irrelevance, and irrelevance is death to the narcissistic ego. So they'll spread rumors. They'll play the victim. They'll try to turn people against you, not because they hate you, but because they need to prove you still care enough to defend yourself. This is the test, and most people fail it. Most people eventually break. They fight back. They try to clear their name. They engage. And the moment they do, the narcissist wins. Not the relationship, but the game. They proved you weren't really indifferent. They proved the mask still works. They proved they still have power. And then they can finally move on. Because the wound is healed. The narcissistic injury is resolved. You're just another mirror again. But if you pass the test, if you stay in the void, the narcissist faces something they've never faced before. Irrelevance. They threw everything at you and got nothing back. No love, no hate, no fear, no anger, just silence. And in that silence, they have to confront the possibility that they don't matter, that their mask doesn't work, that their entire identity is a house of cards. This is what Jung would call the dark night of the soul. And most narcissists never survive it. They just move on to easier targets. But some don't move on. Some stay obsessed for years, decades even. These are the narcissists who are closest to a breakthrough. Their unconscious is screaming at them to wake up, to drop the mask, to face the emptiness, to do the work. And you're the symbol of everything they need to do. Every time they think about you, their unconscious is saying, "This is what authenticity looks like. This is what self-knowledge looks like. This is what freedom looks like." But their ego is too fragile, so instead of learning from you, they obsess over you. Jung believed that every person we meet is a mirror for something inside ourselves. The people who trigger us the most are showing us our shadow. The people we're drawn to are showing us our potential, and the people we can't forget are showing us the work we need to do. So when a narcissist can't forget you, it's because you represent the work they're too afraid to do. The shadow they're too afraid to face. The authenticity they're too afraid to embody. This is why you'll never get closure from them, because giving you closure would require them to be honest, and honesty would require them to admit the mask isn't real, and admitting the mask isn't real would require them to face the void underneath, and facing the void would require them to do the work you've already done. And they're not ready. They may never be ready. So they stay obsessed, stuck in a loop, trying to solve a puzzle that can only be solved by looking inward. But they keep looking at you instead. If you're the person a narcissist is obsessed with, you need to understand something. You're not a victim. You're a glitch in their matrix. You broke their code. You exposed the flaw in their programming, not intentionally, not maliciously, just by existing as your authentic self. And now they're stuck in an error message, trying to compute something that doesn't fit their algorithm, trying to manipulate someone who's already done the work to know themselves. The narcissist spent their life learning how to control people who don't know themselves, people who are desperate for validation, people who haven't faced their shadow, people who need external approval to feel whole. Their entire skill set is based on exploiting that need, but you don't have that need anymore. You've done the internal work, you've found validation within yourself, you've integrated your shadow, you've individuated, so their entire skill set is useless against you. This is the power Jung talked about. Real power isn't dominance. It's not manipulation. It's not control. Real power is self-knowledge. When you truly know yourself, the good and the bad, the light and the shadow, you become unshakable. No one can gaslight you because you trust your own perception. No one can guilt you because you know your own values. No one can manipulate you because you see the game being played. And that's terrifying to someone whose entire existence depends on manipulation working. The narcissist will try everything. They'll love bomb you. They'll guilt trip you. They'll play victim. They'll threaten you. They'll promise change. They'll apologize. They'll rage. They'll beg. And when nothing works, when you remain indifferent through all of it, they'll experience something they've never experienced before. Helplessness. The realization that there's a type of person they simply cannot affect. A type of person who has done the work they're too afraid to do. A type of person who is everything they pretend to be. And this is where the obsession becomes permanent. Because you're not just a person anymore. You're a symbol. You represent every choice they didn't make. Every path they didn't take. Every version of themselves they could have been. When they see you living authentically, they see the life they traded for approval. When they see you unaffected by their games, they see the freedom they traded for control. When they see you at peace with yourself, they see the wholeness they traded for an image. Jung would say the narcissist is projecting their unlived life onto you. They're making you responsible for their unhappiness. If only you had stayed. If only you had tried harder. If only you had given them another chance. But the truth is, Even if you had done all those things, they still wouldn't be happy. Because their unhappiness isn't about you. It never was. It's about the choice they made a long time ago to build a false self instead of discovering their true self. And that's a choice only they can unmake. So what's the solution? How do you free yourself from a narcissist's obsession? You maintain the void. You practice what some people call grey rock. You become boring, unresponsive, emotionally flat. But it's not really about being boring. It's about being complete within yourself. When you're complete, you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to defend anything. You don't need to explain anything. You just exist. And that existence is enough. This is what Jung meant by individuation. You become who you actually are, not who someone else wants you to be, not who you think you should be, who you actually are. And when you've done that, other people's opinions become background noise. Their approval doesn't inflate you. Their disapproval doesn't deflate you. You're stable, centered, whole. And that stability is invisible armor against narcissistic manipulation. The narcissist will keep trying. They'll send messages. They'll create drama. They'll use mutual friends. They'll manufacture situations where you have to interact. But if you maintain the void, if you stay centered in yourself, eventually they'll realize it's hopeless. You're not a mirror they can use anymore. You're not a source of supply. You're not playing the game. And without your participation, the game ends. Here's the final truth. The narcissist doesn't stay obsessed with you because you're special. They stay obsessed because you're free. And freedom is what they want more than anything, but are too afraid to claim. They're trapped inside a mask. They're trapped inside a performance. They're trapped inside a game they can't stop playing. And you walked off the stage. You removed the mask. You quit the game. And they hate you for it. Not because you hurt them, but because you reminded them that escape is possible. If you're the one who got away, you carry a responsibility. Not to the narcissist, but to yourself. You have to protect your freedom. You have to maintain your boundaries. You have to stay centered in your truth. Because the moment you engage, the moment you react, the moment you care about their opinion, you step back onto the stage. You put the mask back on. You rejoin the game. And all the work you did to free yourself becomes meaningless. Jung taught that the unconscious is always trying to make us whole. It sends us dreams, symbols, and people to show us what we need to learn. The narcissist who obsesses over you is receiving a message from their own unconscious. It's trying to wake them up. It's trying to show them another way. It's trying to heal them, but they're not listening. They're interpreting the message as, I need to win this person back, when the real message is, I need to become like this person. Authentic, integrated, free. You don't owe them. That translation. You don't owe them your time. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them another chance. You don't owe them closure. You did your work. You faced your shadow. You integrated your darkness. You became whole. That was your journey. Their journey is their own. And the kindest thing you can do is let them take it without you. You become free when you stop being a supply source. When you stop reflecting their mask. When you stop participating in their drama. When you stop trying to fix them, or save them, or prove anything to them. You become free when you realize their obsession has nothing to do with you, and everything to do with them. You're just the screen they're projecting their unlived life onto, and you can walk away from the theater anytime. In The Alchemist's Path, perception training for empaths, you'll turn overwhelm into wisdom with practical drills, Jung-inspired boundaries, and step-by-step perception training. This guide includes 3 exclusive chapter videos to deepen each lesson. Written by Surreal Mind, 236 pages, beautifully designed 8.5 by 11 downloadable ebook, in stock now. Start your training today. Feel deeply while thinking clearly. Get The Alchemist's Path at thesurrealmind.com.